Right, so I've been given this topic, why mechanical alignment makes no sense anymore. So I'll soften this a little bit and start by saying that don't be afraid to give up the good for the great. So mechanical alignment has been good to us, it's served us well till now, but should we go for the great, should we try and improve on that? I'll invite you to read this editorial on the mean value thinking. Now what is mean value thinking? Mean value thinking is when you try and club everybody under the bell curve to a single line, like MA does, is to bring every patient to a single straight line. That's called mean value medicine. It's time with current thinking and understanding of the morphology, the anatomy, the biomechanics to individualize that patient and try and see if we can improve those results by individualizing, personalizing the alignment philosophy. If MA was so great, why are we still seeing instability, stiffness, and patellofemoral pain as the main causes of revision in most registry data? I'll also suggest that you read this excellent article in Journal of Arthroplasty, 10 Flaws of Systemic Mechanical Alignment Total Knee Arthroplasty. And if every knee we cut at 0 and 0 will come with asymmetric laxities, mostly on the medial side, sometimes on the lateral side as well. Because every femur in terms of LDFA is different and every tibia in terms of MPT is different. And if you cut every femur and every tibia 0 and 0, you're likely to have asymmetric laxities or tightness, pseudo-tightness, which you will address by ligament releases. So look at this patient, a young lady, her HKA is 4 degrees. Both sides. I've done this case, 4 degrees varus. She doesn't look 4 degrees varus HK. She's walking, going up and down stairs beautifully. And why the reason for this is that we are planning the 3D execution of a kinematic joint on 2D X-rays. We should be doing better than that. We should be looking at carefully at the CT scans. The CT scans gives us a load of information on the nature of osteophytes, the medial tenting, the osteophyte volume, the patellofemoral joint and such. So we should be looking at the knee in a 3-dimensional manner rather than just on 2-dimensional X-rays and initiate our planning accordingly. And if we cut the femur and tibia of all different anatomical variations, so this case the femur is in varus, the tibia is in valgus. If we do 0 and 0 degrees, we'll create a pseudo-tight medial space. The MCL is not tight. But the gap that we'll create will become tight and we'll handle that by doing a lot of releases, by going right at the back of the tibia, by releasing the semimembranosus, by cutting the PCL and making equal symmetric flexion and extension gap that has been taught to us for last so many years. Can we improve on that? Yes, we can. We should. The first thing that we should do is measure our cuts. Our cuts should measure because if we cut 7 or 8 millimeters with cartilage loss, practically we are cutting 10 or 11 millimeters. So please measure your cuts, start by measuring your cuts. That's the first thing. Second thing is avoid medial collateral pie crusting because MCL pie crusting can lead to instability, rotational instability, and a difference in superficial and medial pie crusting can lead to differential opening of extension and flexion spaces. So please avoid MCL pie crusting and try and balance your knee with just PCL preservation, a trapezoidal flexion space and a rectangular extension space. That's possible provided you analyze every knee differently and not the same way. And these days we have got excellent tools which give us the LDFA, MPTA quite accurately, which give us the balance, which gives us the trochlear morphology and helps us look at the sagittal and the rotational plane as well. Please note there is no compromise on the extension balance. Extension balance is solid, but it's achieved by modification of bone cuts and not by doing MCL pie crusting or doing big releases. You need to modify your bone cuts according to that individual's anatomy, rather than doing overt ligament releases. Flexion balance, it's been taught to us in mechanical alignment is to create equal flexion space, both in extension and flexion. But please remember that the flexion space is trapezoidal. It's more lax laterally, and we should maintain that slight laxity in flexion laterally to ensure that the femur roll backs. And PCL preservation will give us nice internal rotation of the tibia on the femur and will create near normal kinematics. I agree it's a ACL deficient and a meniscal deficient knee, but that doesn't mean we make it a PCL deficient, MCL deficient knee. We should preserve the ligaments as far as possible. Lastly, MA clubs valgus and varoid knees together. While it should not, we should look at knees differently. We should also take care of the sagittal alignment. Please note that the sagittal alignment of the femur will determine your posterior condylar cut. If you increase the flexion of the femur, the posterior condylar cuts will decrease. So please be cognizant of the flexion of the femur component. Otherwise, you will have failures like this if the flexion of the femur component increases. Lastly, the rotational planes cannot also be the same. You cannot rotate every femur 3-degree external and expect good results in every patient. You need to match the trochlea of every patient, which is different, and you got to match the trochlear anatomy very nicely in every patient and get the rotational alignment matching of femur and tibia to ensure great patellofemoral tracking. Just to end on a lighter note, few of our colleagues will continue to look with their red glasses, every patient the same way, every patient MA, every patient, but I'm sure a lot of us in the house will like to move on from there and try and see if we can improve outcomes by looking at the 3D anatomy and the kinematics of the knee individually. Thank you very much.